Okay, so we're back to the Process podcast with Darell Lee, the president
Happy to be
of
here.
YRD, and Sahaad Washington, Charlotte's president of YRD. So we talked about tons of reasons why somebody should join YRD and give their time, energy, and efforts into this amazing program. Can you talk to me about a success story of someone that came out of YRD?
A success story. So YRD is the ROS program ongoing. So there's several success stories, right?
You're one. We're all one, right?
We all won. So through YRD, as a member of YRD, during that time, I purchased my home. Okay, I purchased my first home. Thank you. In 2021, right? I purchased my first home in 2021, and I remember having conversations with some YRD members just around film and television. Right? Because I'm watching these shows and I'm saying to myself, all of this can't be done in the studio, right? Because I recognize some of these blocks. Like, I know that, like, they outside, right? They outside shooting it. So in having these conversations with YRD members about it, Sanina Ellison, shout out to you. She introduced me. She's a YRD member also. She introduced me to a location scout, right? Now, at this point, 6 months into homeownership, connected me with this location scout. And I said to him, hey, listen, I'm looking to get my house on television or film. I don't know how to do that, but it's something that I'm interested in. And he said, okay, I'll send some people through, take pictures of your property, and we'll see what we can do. He did that about August, September, around that time. Came through, took pictures. I would text them periodically, hey, thanks for coming through. Just touches to let them know that I'm still interested. A week before Thanksgiving, he calls me. And he says, hey, because it's 2021, he says, hey, we're looking to shoot a COVID commercial, right? And we think we can use your space to do it. Is it okay if we have some of our producers come through and take a look at it to see if it works? Hell yeah. Pull up. So they came through, took pictures. They looked at it and said, hey, you know what? We're going to do it. I said, well, how long are you going to be there? They said, we'll be there for maybe 6 hours. Maybe 6 hours. Okay. I said, okay, that works. I say, like, what's the start time? I'm interested in all these things to figure out how I need to move from my house. They said, well, we'll come in about 7. We'll leave around noon. Okay. And we'll send over the contract. And if you like it, we'll film. So email me the contract, and I'm just looking for the money, right? Like, I'm skimming through everything, looking for the dollar amount. And $4,000 is what they offered me to use my kitchen for 3 hours.
Wow.
Because they didn't even stay for the 6. It was only 3 hours. They transformed my kitchen into a doctor's office and created a COVID commercial out of it.
Oh, wow.
So when I say purchase to repurpose, for this generation or the generation before it or after it, understand that in purchasing property, it doesn't mean that you just have a bill, right? You can repurpose this property. Since then, I've had The Chi, which is a show that comes on Showtime. I've had them film scenes in my home. I've had Chicago PD and Chicago Fire are next to come through my home. I've used it for peer space.
I've used it for peer space and charge people $200 an hour to use my living room. So there's a lot of fluff out there about ownership and why you shouldn't be an owner. This organization is a testament to why you can be one. Before I was a member of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, I had no idea the power of real estate. Once I paid my membership dues and became a member, I was just hit with this wealth of knowledge around how I can make my way through real estate. And talking to other YRD members, other NARAB members, just letting them know that this is what I'm interested in. Our community is so strong. I'll go back to Sanina Ellison again, and thank you for that. I owe you a bottle or something like that. Yeah, a couple bottles. Her birthday coming up, too. Your birthday is this weekend, so I'm going to make sure I get you something nice. Because I just let her know that, hey, I'm in real estate. I'm interested in doing this because of this YRD community, because of this Realtist community, I should say. She was able to introduce me to someone who put money directly into my pocket.
right? And that doesn't happen without the organization. That doesn't happen without me owning a property, right? And it doesn't happen without me repurposing it. So ownership as it used to stand is totally different than what ownership is now. Your home is your business, right? You can peer space, you can do film and television, you can Airbnb, you can Verbo. It's about 10 different apps you can use to make money off that property, right? And then at the end of the year, or the beginning of the year, because that's when taxes, at the beginning of the year, you're able to say, hey, I use my property for this and this. I need a tax write-off now because this is a business. It's not just property. So now you're writing off a percentage of your mortgage because you're using your home as a business. So you're not only making money, you're saving money at the same time off just one property.
Yeah.
Whether a condo or a 6-bedroom home, you can still make money with it.
That's the play right there. That's the play. So I think a lot of people, and I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people, well, I would think some of the people that are still thinking older, they're having those conversations, because I'm still hearing it a little bit. You're not going to ever own it. It's going to take you 30 years before you even own the property. So you're throwing the money away still, even if you rent.
That's not true.
But to your point, people have discovered how to keep on flipping it versus just a buy and hold type situation. So many, like you said, it's 10 different ways that you can make money off of a property. So more people need to hear that. If that's not inspiring, I don't know what is for you to get a property. Not just because Ed said, or Sahaad or Darell said get a house. Right. This is what you need to do for your future.
Right. Listen, we're practitioners. At the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, I like to say, we're getting up trying to figure out how we're going to feed our families. Right. You pick the vehicle in which you're going to do that with, and real estate is the vehicle that we chose. I chose it for my specific reasons. President Washington, she's done the same thing for her specific reasons. But the overarching theme of it all is you can support yourself doing this. And as we talked off camera, as soon as you turn 18, almost every real estate profession is open to you. You know, outside of a real estate attorney, which you have to go through college to become an attorney to do. But you don't have to have a college degree to be a lender. You don't have to have a college degree to be a real estate agent. You don't have to have a college degree to be an electrician or a GC. There are dozens of different occupations in real estate that those are not necessary. You just need some experience. You need some networking, and you can build your business while doing whatever it is you may be pursuing collegiately, or if you've graduated college, or if you have a position that you're comfortable with. This is just to add to it, right? It can definitely replace it if you invest in it, but it's an opportunity for those that don't know it exists.
It also puts you in a position, like, if you do decide you're going to go the collegiate route, right? Now I'm not creating a financial hardship for myself because I want to do it, right? NARAB and YRD and just being in this organization, we have something that we call the Realtist spirit. And you don't know what it is until you really experience it. But when you're looking to pivot, you need to do something. Like Sanina, I have mentors as well. And my champion story, like they championed me, was I needed to pivot from the mortgage company that I was at. I'm not even going to say their name because we all know them. Huge deal. And I went to NARAB and I said, I need to find a company that is not only going to support me as a producer, because that's the job that pays the bill, but I need to find a company that is also going to be in alignment for the advancement of Black professionals, and that is going to be very intentional about how they represent the Black and brown communities in their marketing, their multicultural marketing, and who really support the vision of closing the homeownership gap. It really doesn't exist in the mortgage world. When you get on the other side of it, you know, this is about dollars and cents. So any company that's doing it the right way, it has to be a choice. And a shout out to C. Renee Wilson. She's the executive director of NARAB. She was like, you should talk to this person, that person, but I like this person over here. I think that you'll get along and have a great conversation. I met with Camilo Escalante, who is the director of diverse segments at Rate. And he is a Hispanic man, and his vision for what he wanted to do with rate mortgage and how he wanted us to be represented in the Black and brown communities. It wasn't just about supporting borrowers and clients in the community. It was about, we want to make sure that we are representing Black and brown people as a community the right way. And we can't do that unless we have input from Black leaders. And when I tell you he over-delivered, I mean delivered everything. There is not a lot that we don't get to have some type of input in, and he's changed things to make sure that not only are we supported as employees, but that we're represented appropriately in the community, and that what's being pushed out there from the company looks a way that we're going to be able to receive it on the other side. How many times have you seen marketing from these big brands and it doesn't line up, right? You know, nobody back there who created this material for Black and brown people was actually Black and brown. What he's doing, it's us behind that. What he's delivered on as far as the support for the originators, but also for the whole company, right? It's not just a Black thing. It's not just a brown thing. It's anybody who wants to support in this space for NARAB has stepped up as far as helping us cover expenses, going to conferences and doing these things. I would have never had access to a person like this if it wasn't because of NARAB.
And I think support within. So it's a lot of times as a people, we have to fight within to even get out. So it's an amazing thing that you have support within, because that's rare. A lot of these companies, they say that they're supporting.
Yeah, they say a lot.
But that's just not what it is. You know what I mean? So we find ourselves fighting within, and then we got to fight out here. It's just, you just ready to scrap at any given time, because it's always a fight. Even getting YRD to where it's been a fight. I'm not asking anybody to share anything, but it hasn't been easy just getting everybody on the same page.
Yeah.
To know that this is for the good of the youth in the future.
One band, one sound. That's the synergy between YRD and NARAB. That's what we promote as community. As president of this national organization, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I just want to put a rim on it. You know what I'm saying? And by that, I mean, I'm not trying to change how real estate is purchased and sold. I'm just trying to educate the community on what to do when you purchase it, or how to purchase it, and to know that's possible, and how you can be innovative even in your purchase. To go back to what you said, Ed, not too long ago, in terms of people saying that, hey, it's going to take you 30 years to pay off this loan. It's going to take 30 years to pay off this loan. I would challenge the individual and say, where do you plan on living for the next 30 years? Because if you plan on living the next 30 years, chances are it's going to be under a roof, right? Why not own that roof? Because as you're renting, you're paying for other people's dreams. And I don't think people know that, right? When you pay rent, you pay that to that landlord. That landlord is putting his kids through college. He's buying vacation homes. He's enjoying a lifestyle from passive income that you are creating for him. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to rent, but just understand where your money is going, right? Because if you're renting $1,000 a month, 12 months out of the year, that's $12,000. You do that for 10 years, it's $120,000, right? And so if you had to spend $120,000, why not spend that on you? If you plan to live under a roof for the next 10 plus years, why don't you know what I'm saying? Why don't you invest in yourself? And so that's our mission, is to have the community understand that the power in that, the power in ownership, the power to be able to leverage things. Sahaad talked about equity. Well, in those 10 years, you would have accumulated equity in that home. 70%, I do numbers all the time, 70% of white Americans own homes.
I was about to ask you something. The Sheba report.
Sheba, yep. State of housing in Black America.
So let's talk about that. Since you're saying that, let's talk about where we are on that report and why you think it's that way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that's where I'm pulling these numbers from, is from our Sheba report, which is the state of housing in Black America. Over 70% of white Americans own homes, right? The number for Black Americans is just a little above 40%. 42, I think it's at right now. That's the lowest it's been since we've been allowed to own homes. If we continue on this path, it's projected, and it's also in the Sheba report, that by 2050, Black Americans in this country will have 0% stake in ownership. 0%. Now, that's not to say that there aren't people that are going to own homes in 2050, Black people, that is, but the numbers would be so low that they wouldn't even register on a national scale.
Oh, wow.
So that's why our mission is so important for exposure to real estate, to young adults, because if there isn't a change in how we're moving, we won't own anything, right? If you don't own a home, you don't acquire equity, you can't then pull from that equity to put kids through school or to get a second business or to buy another home. Like, that's just equity, right? We're not having conversations about the multiple ways of income that you can get from your property, because some people don't want to be landlords. Some people don't want people in their home, and I respect that. But in that, understand that just owning, right, the equity that you're accumulating, right, when your child is 15 and you've been living in that place for 15 years, and you're talking about college, you would have accumulated 15 years worth of equity to help put that next generation through school or help them purchase a business.
So why do you think it's that way? I have my reasons. I know President Johnson, last year we had the big meeting and everything, and she was saying that one of the number one reasons was we're scared to be told no. We're just scared that if we do the application and we put in the information, they're going to tell us no.
I think there is anxiety around that. But for me, to answer that question, I think is you can't be what you can't see. So if you're not from a community of homeowners, then home ownership is not something you're thinking about. Like, I'm from a community of renters. I didn't even think about owning a home until I left the city of New York and moved to another city and saw how there were Black communities of homeowners. I'm like, yo, this is cool. Like, everybody, like, you own, yeah, I own this. You own this house too? Yeah, I own. When I got to Chicago, I'm going to tell you how real it is. When I got to Chicago, I would drive around to familiarize myself with the city. And there's a section of Chicago called Hyde Park. And in Hyde Park is some of the most beautiful architecture and homes that you'll ever see. And so I used to like to ride through there and just like look at the cribs. Like, man, one day I'm gonna get me one of these. And I'd see a Black man watering his lawn. I see a Black woman planting flowers. I see Black kids playing in the yard. And I'm that bold that I pull my car over and I ask, you live here? And they'll tell me yes. And I say, you own this? And they're like, yeah, we own this. And I just said to myself, well, I got to be on the other side of this conversation. I need to be the owner explaining to someone else that this is also possible.
That's dope. That sounds very familiar. So my story, I probably said it a million times, the other show that we have called Free Game. My wife wanted a house. And I was like, man, ain't nobody finna give us no loan for no house, because we had just tried to get a loan for, I want to say like $300 or something from Bank of America. And I said, yeah, I said it, whatever. And they denied us. I couldn't even get $300. And she was like, no, baby, you have a VA loan. You were in the military. So it's 100%.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. 100% loan. All we have to do is pay closing costs, but they can waive that. I said, that's a gimmick. You fall for everything that you see. Where is this coming from? Because we already have an apartment. This is our house. You talking at work and you talking to your coworkers, and just because they got a house, good for them. Why don't you stay over there? Because we live over here. You know what I'm saying? They gonna tell.
And we comfortable here.
So she did that. I said, I tell you what, do the application so they can tell you no. And I'm finna go about my business and continue working or whatever. So she did the application, did all the paperwork. It was a lot of paperwork. And they said, you're approved. I was like, what? no, don't, no, it's something, it's got to be a catch or whatever. But we were approved. It was 100% loan. We were able to buy a house. Family was proud. We had all the family get-togethers there.
Oh yeah, the kickback is at the house.
You know what I'm
come
saying?
over to the backyard.
Yeah.
Like once you got a house, you inviting everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, come over. We have something at the house. Come through. We're in the backyard. Look, think about the worst neighborhood you've ever seen and lived in, right? And then ask yourself the question: how many people own where they live in that neighborhood? And I guarantee you, it's going to be less than 5% of home owners in that neighborhood, because when you own your home, you're very sensitive to who's standing out in front of it, who's curbing their dog,
who ain't moving out the street when you trying to get in your driveway
where
and they playing basketball,
who's littering in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like, that's where these women start looking out their windows and opening their doors. Are you going to pick that up? Are you going to leave that right there? And just home ownership will beautify a community because they live there. They have ownership in it. They have stock in this. When you're renting something, look, if you rent somebody, and I answer honestly, right? If you lent somebody your car, you would want them to treat that car, right, like they owned it.
No doubt.
Not like they rented it. And it's a reason for that. Just using that as an analogy for home ownership and how it works. The way that you care about your car and you're getting ready to hand these keys over to somebody else to make a run, errand, whatever it is. Treat this car like you own it, right? That's a universal principle. When you tell somebody, treat it like you own it, that means care for it. You never hear somebody say, hey, yo, treat that like you rent it.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't hear that. Treat it like you rent it. Or people go rent cars. It's like, oh, it's just a rental car. I'm not going to clean it. I'm going to send it back dirty. It's going to be bags of chips in the back seat. It's going to be these things but associated with a rental because it's not yours. You give it back. But if you own that, you treat it differently.
You have a sense of pride.
You have a sense of pride about that. So if I'm living in my home and I'm living in my neighborhood and to the left of me is a homeowner, to the right of me is a homeowner, we don't have to have the same religion. We don't have to have the same politics. None of that matters when you're trying to protect your community, when you're trying to beautify your community, when you're trying to maintain your community. You and every neighbor in that community will connect on that level. Is that I'm trying to protect what I own. I'm trying to protect where I live, not necessarily where I rent.
Absolutely. And I can definitely say I had a lot of pride after that first purchase. It just did something to me.
You walk different.
Because I know that every year that equity is just stacking up. It made me start thinking more business-minded. It just kind of opened up my mind. I can't even describe what it did for me, but I want everybody to feel that. So we can catch these young people at a young age.
Correct.
So they can feel that, have that feeling at a young age, carry that through, and then they pass that down. Now you're affecting change. Just all this stuff that people are talking about, generational wealth, legacy. Now we have a plan on how we're going to create that.
Right.
I pray every time I walk up to my house, my current house, and that sense of pride, like once I own my house for a little while, in NARAB, people are like, well, how many investment properties do you own? And in my brain, I was like, oh, I got to get to the next level. I need another one. But I wouldn't have done that if I wasn't around people that were, okay, you got one, wealth creation, what's your cash flow, right? I'm like, I don't know anything about this, but it empowered me to keep going. And then when I purchased that next house here in Charlotte, that was the big house. Because our house this is not Philly. So in Philadelphia, you can still buy a house right now, probably under $150,000 if you really wanted to right now. That first house was $70,000, right? This next house, this one's almost $500,000. This is different. And going through that process and purchasing the next house was like, okay, now I feel like I have properties under my belt and I'm in a different arena, and it pushes you to make more money, to focus on your wealth building, because I have to now pass that house down to my son. Now we have a wealth plan. Other people that I talk to, like, oh, you got kids, you own your house, like you have your trust, like we're having a different conversation, but that all started because you have homeownership.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Man, well, I'm in. Y'all already know I'm in. I'm already a member.
We need you.
But I will tell you this.
Yeah,
We have to lead by example.
absolutely.
There's a lot of business leaders. There's a lot of people out here. So how can people get involved? If they have youth that are interested in this program, what are some of the dates or what's the information? How can they get involved to support YRD and Rise?
Well, I'm sure when this comes out, there's probably be a ticker. This is the place for the ticker where we put our website and also our donation links. But youngrealtist.org
Yes.
is our website, and you can go to youngrealtist.org and you can become a member of YRD. You can find more information out about the RISE program. That's one, to contact us. And to your other question in terms of a timeline, so what it's looking like is now we're midway through, I would say, in finishing the curriculum.
Okay.
It'll be ready by May. We'll be running our beta classes in May. By June, we'll be training trainers. And what that means is, like, Sahaad is president for our Charlotte chapter. There are 15 other chapters that we're going to roll this out to. And the presidents in those local markets will disseminate this course, right, wherever it's needed, right? So it may not be at your local high school. It may be the youth ministry, right? Or it may be a class that we have at a YMCA. Hey, we just want to do something with the older youth here in your YMCA, but it's going to be a portable program that you take with you, right? So wherever young adults are, you'll be able to pull this program out and teach them how they can support themselves without depending on a W-2.
Okay. That's excellent. So what is the age?
So we're looking at we're looking at 18,
Okay.
17 and 18, your juniors and seniors that are getting ready to graduate from high school, and we're looking at collegians also. And the purpose for these particular individuals is because they're just starting life out as adults, right? They're just starting out on their career paths. They're just figuring out how to earn money, how to pay taxes, how to do all these. So in this learning stage of being an adult, that's where YRD wants to insert the opportunity, the tools, the knowledge to be able to use this so that when you reflect at 40, about 18, hey, yeah, I took a RISE class, and because of it now I'm an electrician, or I took a RISE class, and because of it I am a homeowner now. Like, I'm a real estate agent. I was a real estate agent before I purchased my property. Because I was a real estate agent purchasing my property, I made $13,000 on the transaction. So I bought a home, right, and left with keys and a check just for being a real estate agent. Now, I didn't need to help anybody buy a property. I didn't need to help anybody sell a property. But just because I'm accredited, I'm a certified real estate agent, I was able to make $13,000 on the purchase of my property. So if it's just your property, if you're not interested in working with everyone else, just learn the tools to empower yourself to do something like that, right? To become a plumber and be able to find a property that doesn't have the proper plumbing, so you can buy it under market value. And because you have these skills, you can put the plumbing in, save the money, have the equity in the home because you would have built it up, and you're on track to generational wealth. And that's just one way to do it. But it doesn't happen without exposure. I'm not sitting here having a conversation with you if it wasn't for a Courtney Jones, who is the second VP for NARAB, saying to me as I was working, hey, you want to make some extra money? Yeah. Well, you ever think about being a leasing agent, helping people find apartments? No, I never thought about it, but I think that's something I could do. The course was 2 days. It was $150. In the first month, I had three clients, which is good because it's tough starting out. But the first month, I had 3 clients. And so from the commission from those clients, I made $2,500 by helping 3 people find apartments, which took me about, if I had to add the time up, it'd probably been 5 hours with the 3 of them showing properties, right? And so that's how you got to break down how you're making money, right? Like, this took me about 5 hours to show these 3 people these 3 places. And once they decide they like it and fill out the paperwork, I get paid for it. So that was my entry into real estate as a leasing agent, but that doesn't happen without Second Vice President Courtney Jones of NARAB telling me that, right? This is him from a nonprofit organization sharing information to help me build my bottom line, right? So he did this for me. I have to do this for other people. Like, it's not something I don't have a choice in this matter. Right. Like, I have to tell other people that you too can do this, because now I'm a leasing agent. I'm like, man, I made $2,500 like while I'm working.
150 from 150.
From 150. I flipped 150 and 2,500 in the first month. And I continue flipping it because your certificate, you renew it. Yeah. But it doesn't really expire. You just have to pay to renew it. So I'll continue to be making money off that $150. And when I'm now working in this real estate office, I'm my $2,500 check, and somebody came through with a $12,000 check. And I'm like, well, what are they doing? Oh, well, that's a real estate agent, right? They're able to help people rent, help people purchase and sell properties. Oh, man. 12,000 is my 2,500. Now my 2,500, it don't have the same weight that it had when I got it. So I was like, okay, you know what? Let me go get my real estate license. And that took 2.5 months of classes. Took the exam. I failed the first time, right, by 1 point. I failed the first time by 1 point. I think it's important to say that because not everything is a streamlined success story. There are obstacles, there are hurdles, there are failures, right? Now, this is me in class. I'm studying. I wanted this money, and I failed. It wasn't because of poor preparation. It wasn't because I didn't study, but I failed. I could have quit.
I know that killed you.
1 point, I'm like, oh, I'm coming back. Like, this is just 1 point. Oh, I'm gonna be back. If y'all think y'all gonna run me out of here over 1 point, I'm about to be back. So so in 2 weeks, when I was able to take the exam again, I took it again, and as a result, I got paid on my own house. I purchased a house. Like, all of this happens from one person, word of mouth, which we talked about in terms of the best form of marketing, sharing information with me that not only changed my life, but it'll change the lives of anybody and everyone that knows me. And that was just from a conversation with him. So imagine what we'd be able to do as real estate practitioners with young adults in a room who are sponges and trying to figure out what the rest of their lives are going to look like. Yeah. I don't know if it's just me, but I remember waking up after the day I graduated from high school and thinking, well, what do I do now? Because my entire life I've gone to school, right? So now I'm 18 years old and I've graduated, but I don't know what to do next.
Yeah.
And there was nobody in that space at that time that could give me the options and the opportunities that we're passing to the youth that come through our RISE program.
Yeah, that's the reason why I went into the military. If I would have had another option, I probably wouldn't have even went into the military. But the more we're talking about this program, I'm thinking about Upward Bounds. You remember Upward Bounds?
I remember Upward Bounds.
So I was in Upward Bounds.
Okay.
I didn't go to college, but I did go to Upward Bounds when I was in ninth. I look forward to it. We stayed on the campus for the summer. You got to see how it was to live in a dorm, and it just still sticks with me now. Even
Sounds like exposure.
It was exposure. Even though I didn't go to college, it still gave me exposure to that. And I was like, I always had it in the front of my head, like, I got to go to college because of that.
Knowing how something works doesn't mean you have to do it. Like, the exposure in which we're trying to give to these kids is not that you have to go be a real estate agent or you have to invest in real estate, but knowing how it works is a benefit to you, right? Knowing how an electrician builds an empire is a benefit to you, because maybe you don't become an electrician. Maybe you take the information you learn about that entrepreneurship and go get a food truck, but it inspires you to think about different ways to earn in this world, right? And that's all we're trying to do. We're trying to impress on youth that you have more than what you've been taught, which is graduate from high school, go get a college degree, right? And then go work for somebody forever. I just want to give you a different opportunity. YRD just wants to give you an opportunity. And if that's your track, if that's your path, I'm not saying it's a bad one. I'm only saying let's put a rim on that wheel.
There you go. I love it. I love it. Now, I'm about to say something. As business leaders, we have to lead by example. At least one of my closings every month, I'm going to put a portion of it toward the RISE program because I believe in it that much.
I appreciate it.
Out of my commission,
we appreciate that.
We need more leaders doing the same thing.
Absolutely.
You know, it is our problem. One mind, one nation, one sound. We all got to walk in the same direction. So
Thank you.
I appreciate that, Ed. If we get 1,000 people to think like you think, right, we can change a generation of kids and turn them into homeowners and create the wealth that we're owed and deserve in this country.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how can they reach you, sir?
YoungRealtist.org is how you find us online. Reach out, send us a message. The RISE program is up there. You can learn a lot more than I've spoken about today, but you can definitely reach us through there.
All right. All right. How can they reach you, Madam President?
TheYoungRealtist.org, same website. And anyone who sees this and you think that you want this in your community, there's a contact form. Let us know that you want RISE in your community, and so that we can put it together for you. But yes, TheYoungRealtist.org, or you can find me at The Mortgage Match on Instagram.
Oh, and for those that are watching that don't have a YRD in your city, or if you want to know if you have a YRD in your city, all our cities are listed on the website. So you're able to go and see, wow, is there one in Memphis? Is there one in Charlotte? Is there one in Atlanta? What about LA? Is there one in Jacksonville, Florida? And the answer is yes to all of those things. And now you have a contact for that. You have somebody that you can reach out to. You have community, someone you can learn from who's not going to charge you for the information, who just wants you to be a part of the community, be a part of the mission, because it is one band, one sound.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great show. Thank you for coming on.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for
Thank you
bringing.
for having
Thank
us.
you so much. All right. One love.